You are welcome in Auteuil, the mother house of the religious of Assumption. In this place, Eugenie came for first time in 1857. She came with the first sisters, and it was the fifth house of the congregation. They were first in Rue Ferrou, Rue de Vaugirard, Impasse-des-Vignes, and Chaillot. But there were many students, more than 200 and something more, and they had to find a place with big space, with more space. And so Eugenie decided to look for a place. They also wanted a place where the sisters who were coming from other communities could gather during summer. It was new for them because it was the beginning of the congregation and there were not so many communities, but they were needing space. So she chose a place near Paris, in the middle of the trees, with a rural area around it. I will show you after that some pictures of this place. But for now, we can enter the house and we can also go for a walk in the garden. Please follow me.
Here is the house of Auteuil, the core of Assumption in the world. Here, all the story of our Assumption has its sources. Here is now living the General Superior of Assumption, who the four sisters who are forming part of her council. There is also a community of 12 sisters assuming some services of congregation and some studies. If you come to Auteuil one day, this community will be happy to welcome you. You will hear so many languages, from French to Spanish, from English to Japanese, from Tagalog to Italian, and so many others. You will make the experience of the internationality of Assumption. we are now in the archives of the congregation, the place where we keep all the documents that told the stories of Assumption, that are telling until now the story of Assumption. In this place, we have also all the letters written by Marie Eugenie. Can you imagine that we have 12,000 letters that she wrote? Some of them have 10 pages. And it has been a great work to write these letters down in a computer, to type them, to keep them for the future. In this place, we have also some small things of the daily life of our mothers. As this desk, it was the desk of Thérèse Emmanuel. These small things, this small object, helps us to remember that there were real women. They were in our world, living as we are living, and we can follow their path. If you want, I can show you some treasures that we find here in the archives. Do you know what are these plates? These plates are the last one that Marie Eugenie was using when she was sick and they were bringing her meals at the end of her life. When she was traveling for the foundations of all the houses, Assumption houses, she was bringing with her so many letters and documents. These are the folders she was using to put these letters and to write when she was in the train, for example. As General Superior, she was using seals to mark her letters. Here is the seal that she was using at the beginning. The Virgin Mary in her Assumption. And as she was writing a lot during the winter, when it was very cold, she was needing to warm up her hands. There were not modern ways to do that at that time. So people were putting stones in the fire, and then they were putting the hot stone, on their desk. And when they were cold, they were putting their hands near the stone to warm up them. This is the stone of Marie Eugenie. At last, I want to show you the ring of Marie Eugenie, this symbol of her union with Christ, the symbol of the covenant that God offers her every day of her life. She lived this communion with God together with her sisters in Assumption. That's why you see here the ring of Marie Eugenie and the ring of Thérèse Emmanuel. In the archives, you will also find the first breviaries, the first book of prayer that Marie Eugenie used. You can find so many other treasures in the archives. As these paintings, they are representing the first Auteuil, the castle that Marie Eugenie first bought Then a monastery was built, and this is the entrance of this monastery. As I was telling you before, these buildings have been destroyed at the beginning of the 20th century because of a fight between French state and religious congregations. If we go for a walk in the garden, we will find a lot of reminders of our Assumption story. The more recent one is the souvenir of the pilgrimage of youth people in Auteuil in 2017 for the bicentenary of the birth of Marie-Eugenie and Thérèse Emmanuel. They came here from all over the world, and they left a souvenir of their stay. This bench that we have called the bench of friendship, as it is reminding us that Assumption was built on the friendship between Marie-Eugenie and Thérèse Emmanuel. May our friendship, all the people that we love and that we encounter every day, be a grace for us today. In front of this bench, we can find the gates of the old chapel where Marie-Eugenie and Thérèse Emmanuel were buried. The chapel doesn't exist anymore, but we can remember with these gates that for a while they were in this property after their death, and sisters could pray on their tomb here in Auteuil. On the other side of the garden, we can find the stones that were on the tomb of the first tomb of Marie-Eugenie and Thérèse Emmanuel. We keep them as a souvenir of their life given for God, given for Christ. On this stone, you can read the word that was written in the ring of Marie-Eugenie. Domino, Domine, tucis, quia amo te. Lord, you know that I love you. The central place of the house is, of course, the chapel. If we look at it from above, we can notice that the chapel is shaped like a tent, place of welcome for all the people who want to enter. This chapel has been built at the beginning of the year 1960, when the congregation was leaving its missionary expansion. Many sisters were leaving for Africa from Europe, and the General Superior of this time, Mother Mary Denise, wanted the chapel to be the symbol of the openness of the church. At first sight, what touches you when you enter in this chapel is the space. The space for prayer. The space that we open in our hearts to make God to come and visit us. Marie Eugenie wanted us to open spaces for Christ in our hearts. Christ as the central place in this chapel. A big cross upon the altar. Christ looking at us, waiting for us. On the altar itself, a sentence in Latin reminds us what was important for Marie Eugenie. Christus petra autem erat. Christ was the stone, the principal stone of our lives, the stone on which we have to build everything. The window glasses, with many colors, are also a particularity of this chapel. They represent the church with all its diversity. Its diversity has a richness. They represent our community with our different colors, our different graces, our different characters. All these things that we have to share with others because they are gift of God. When we are in the chapel in Auteuil, we hear the call to share what we are, who we are, and to celebrate the gift that God has given us by giving us life. Take a moment and choose your color. Would you be blue, green, red? Would you be white or yellow? In the chapel is a statue of Our Lady of Consolation. It was, in the beginning, in the chapel where Eugenie was baptized, in Lorraine, the place where she was born. And as she was loving it so much, the new owner of the castle of Prague offered this statue to her. Here, every day, we can pray Mary together with Eugenie. Let's have a silent walk and allow the light to come within us. We have now followed the way of the pilgrims, and we will enter in the heart of Assumption. We are now in the sanctuary of Saint Eugenie, the place where she is buried, her tomb. Many people from all over the world are coming every year in this place to pray with her, to meet her, to present to her their worries, their hopes, their requests. She is the foundation stone built on the foundation of Christ. And she was saying that we are all foundation stone. So here today, we can ask her to help us to be really women and men of light,
women and men of love, audacious and rooted in the love of God. We can offer now our prayer to God with Saint Marie Eugenie.
It is for you alone, oh my God, that I am here. You are the all of my life. My thoughts, my work, my affection are all for you. You are the all of my life, and although I can't always be at your feet, my life must be in a constant prayer. There must be the soul of my life. May each one of my thoughts, of my occupations be directed towards the fullness with which I want to belong to you. It is for you alone, oh my God, that I am here. You are the all of my life. My thoughts, my work, my affection are all for you. You are the all of my life, and although I can't always be at your feet, my life must be in a constant prayer. There must be the soul of my life. May each one of my thoughts, of my occupations be directed towards the fullness with which I
Now we will end our visit. I hope by passing through these places, by discovering the original place of Assumption, you went to your own roots. I hope your life will be enrooted in this rich story, as you are part now of Assumption. Assumption together, Assumption on the footstep of Saint Mary Eugenie.